Hello everyone! Today we'll be painting our pretty pony mug with the Color Me Mine Bubbles technique. Our first step is to grab a palette and fill it up with paints. This time I decided to try and go with a pink and tan palette with some blue accents I'll add later on. I chose some smaller brushes as I'm working with a small piece. The first step of my painting process is to sketch out the defining edges on the piece, as they'll get lost the second I add paint. Our eyes begin to focus on the colors and values rather than the shape itself. For the painting, I begin by blocking out my first coat of the pinks. I'm using them in the hair and inside of the ears. For the hair, I'm doing an alternating pattern of number 5 and number 3. The inside part of the ears is also number 3. The next step is to take number 68 and cover the pony's face and outside ears. Most of this process I want to be very light in the final product, so I'll stick to only having one coat of paint in most places. Here also is an example of what one coat looks like compared to 2 or 3. Now I'm blushing the pony's cheeks and ears by tapping number 5 on with my finger and smoothing it out. I absolutely should have used a sponge for the blending part of this, but we make our mistakes in art. I had a lot of trouble with this part since I kept adding too much pink. If you replicate this, tap on a tiny bit of pink with your finger and then blend it out with a small sponge until you're happy. I'm coloring in the eyes here with a base of 35, a nice vibrant blue that isn't too light or too dark. Next, I mix 85 with a small amount of 47 to get a darker shade that I'll use as the shadow in the eye. I also add the pupil in this color, but we'll be going in with black later. After this, I color the inside of the cup with 35 as well, so the color isn't only on the eyes. It will also add a nice pop when you look inside of the cup. I also put my paint mix in the very bottom of the cup as well. We're blending on the cheeks here to try and make it a little bit smoother. Then I touch up the shadow in the eyes and start cleaning up the blue that invaded the tan while I was doing the inside. If you need to clean something up, you can do so by taking a slightly wet sponge and scrubbing parts off and painting over them one more time. I'm also using the sponge to even out the tone in parts I had to paint over for whatever other reason. Now I move on to our black Rider bottle to outline parts of the mug. This is just a personal preference thing. Now, I use our white Rider bottle to add some life to the eyes with little dots and sparkles. Here's the fun part. Combining 2 parts water and 1 part Dawn dish soap with some number 5, I mix it up then use a paper straw to blow up the bubbles. I use these bubbles to add some fun texture to the ears and hair. I personally don't like only doing this once, so I do it a few times to get the desired result. In the final product, you can see it really well on the ears, but not so well on the hair. The water really dampens down the color of the paint, so it makes sense why that happened. The most fun part of this method for me is the unpredictability of it. The bubbles will never do what you think they will. You'll also see me blowing off some of the bubbles here. You're technically supposed to wait for them to pop on their own, but I got really impatient. And here's the final product. We have the pre-firing version and the post-firing version. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope if you try this method on your own, you have some success with it.